I don't like that from this point in time because so far Rose hasn't really built up anything to make her
Corruptible.
yes or no, not corruptible, to make her an asset to the player. I mean, before this she was a boss,
Yeah.
and then she got corrupted or she got bribed, and now the player has to fight another boss because of her. Why does the player not just kick Rose out of the group or something? Why is Rose still there if she's just causing trouble?
Because she can get information about the MPU person. She's
But
the
what
only
about her
person
is
that can
likable?
get- Huh?
What about her is likable?
She always does her job. Well, like, even though she was the first boss in the second act, I mean, she was the main boss in the second act.
Yeah.
Once you defeat her and all that stuff, she tells you all this new stuff about MPU that you just don't know yet.
Have you ever watched Lupin the Third?
No, but I've heard of it.
Because Rose has reminded me a lot like Fujiko. And Fujiko is not exactly there for any other reason than Lupin. Which kind of works because they have that established dynamic, but there's no way we can establish that kind of dynamic between Kevin and Rose in our allotted time, and it might be unrealistic. Might feel kind of heavy-handed.
Like,
So that's my concern.
after Act 2, Rose would tell you, like, one, she will tell you that the disease came from MPU.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they developed it. That's who did all that stuff. They're gathering their resources. They're taking resources from all the nearby temples so that they can make a virus that the main youth that can take and basically just
Instead of being
over.
bribed, how about she gave up the group's plans as an exchange of information for information?
that's
She got the
fine.
information about NPU because she told them. But then we have another problem in that this comes after that she was drugged and she got the information. So we have a bit of a continuity error.
What do you mean?
Well, she got the information in the medieval stage, but they drugged her and she became a boss. And then she sold out that they're at Temple 3 in the Act 3 city
Mm-hmm.
to get the information that she got in Act 2.
That's not what I was thinking.
Well, that's the problem of what my status was. What were you thinking?
I was thinking that she would get completely new information in Act 3, and that's what she was exchanging for, not the one in Act 2. Act 2, she just figured it out on her own, but she accidentally got infected.
Okay, so I can see that. Act 2, she stumbles
She just sneaks around and finds out what's happening.
Like some drug or some crate in a factory says MPU on it, and the guards catch her and drug her.
Yeah.
And then throw her in the temple or whatever.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't go to the temple, she goes to the castle.
And then they know that it's MPU now, so she approaches someone in MPU to get information.
Yeah.
And she trades information for information. Okay.
In Act 3, not in Act 2.
Yes, in Act 3. So what would be... Since she did that trade, we have to make sure that the information she gets is more valuable to the player.
To the player?
Yes, like... she knows something about the chemical or the boss's weakness, the end boss's weakness, or how to get to the end boss. She needs to know something vital.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, the heme gets stronger with oxygen.
Yeah. That can easily be done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could be a weakness to the exosuit suit or something like that.
Considering that...
Oh, I know what information that she learns.
What's
She
that?
learns that Lexi is related to the big boss. They learn who the big boss is, and she learns that secret.
But didn't Lexi already know that that her brother ran NPU?
Yes. In Act 3, she goes to confront him herself.
So we covered that. Well, we were going over the information she learned about the brother and Lexi.
Yes. That's what Rose learns. And then in Act 3, Lexi knows that she's probably gonna be called out for all this, so she just goes to confront her brother on her own. So that would be her side story mission. And then once she does that, it doesn't turn out well for her, and whatever the virus that they're developing then, like the main one that they're going to take over the world with, she gets infected with. Her brother infects her with it and then captures her. Oh, I shouldn't say capture. Contains her for the right moment. So Lexi is gonna be like the end boss.
Okay, about Lexi being one of the bosses. I'm against that, since we already used it. I do like that she met her brother and ended badly, but instead of being drugged, maybe Rose could save her, and that would be one of her side missions. Or other New Game Plus missions.
But that would leave it so Rose has 3 missions already and Lexi only has 2.
Well, we need 5 for each. I'm talking New Game Plus missions, not side missions.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I guess that could work.
And then, Lexi.
Again, all this stuff is just, this isn't even written down yet.
Yeah.
We should probably get this written down before we continue any further.
Well, it's good to have a plan before you do all that work.
True.
So, I would like to go from Rose being a boss infected is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Once.
Lexi's not gonna be a boss.
Yes, then we should go back to our mechanized
Bosses.
Yes. And
Oh,
that would be our regular theme.
Gotcha. So Renaissance.
So it would be city would be something. It could be animal based, it could be something more tied to a city. The fourth temple, which, well, actually, the fourth temple we wanted to set up
After
the something really to piss off the player happens, and then they decide to either attack right now or go to the fourth temple.
yeah, I
If you
thought
remember
that
that
would
from
be
the
the
last
point
time.
where like Lexi
Yeah.
gets captured.
Yeah, Lexi getting captured kind of works.
So we need some type of filler in between those two.
It just seems like I wanted to avoid someone ending up killed because it would seem like it's just forced.
Yeah, you don't need that. Also,
And with how little time we have, I don't know if the relationship between Kevin and Lexi on any level is developed enough that Lexi being captured would piss off the player enough.
we can make it. I thinking of a way that we can do that. We'll use the Renaissance. We'll use Act 3 as like a filler in between that, because I guess during the Renaissance there is some romantic. There's a lot of romantics there, right?
Yeah.
Well, then that could be where all the love interest comes in.
But we don't even. But we were staying away from love interest, though.
I mean, I thought there has to be like there had to be some connection between Lexi and Kevin, so there has to be at least a little bit of love interest.
Well, it doesn't have to be like romantic love. Could be like camaraderie, or
But
maybe
whatever.
some sort of like sibling.
Well, it's hard to do camaraderie with a girl and a guy.
It just isn't done enough.
The only time
People
I've ever
just
seen
default
that,
to the relationship.
No, I've never seen it where it's just friends. I always see it like they want to take it a step further.
Think about
Maybe
aliens.
like the only time I've ever seen it is during the Avengers, where the girl has like the dude saves her, and she's just like she owes him, but they don't have any interest of like dating at all. Or
Aliens had two females that didn't really have romantic interests, but were more of like a camaraderie against the aliens.
two females,
Yes, one of them was even a soldier. The other one was just.
but they're both of the same sex.
No, not between them. They were with the Marine squad they were with. One was actually a Marine, and then there was the. I think 4 of the Marines were males, and the 5th one was female, and then there was the female protagonist.
Well, Kevin's helped save Lexi's dog.
Does that happen in the game?
Yeah, that happened in the first one. First act. In the jungle after he gets his powers.
That's not enough of a development, but you can't really have her fighting in the temple with him because that's.
She's not fighting in the temple.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying is, it's hard to take it a step further to where she's really helpful. Like, the way to get to the player is, as much as people hate it, to take something that's useful to the player away from them. Like if the big bad took Xylo away, the player would probably be pissed. But that takes away the main weapon and half of the character dynamic of the player.
Yeah.
So that's something I want to avoid. Just like I wanted to avoid having someone end up killed.
None of those have to happen.
And I don't think kidnapping is enough. There's nothing tied to the player except story-wise.
How about just like torturing so they have weaknesses on both Kevin and Rose?
How would that work?
Well, we already have a weakness for Rose. We just have to find a weakness for Kevin, which would be his parents, probably.
Well, Rose's weakness is she's easily bribed. How would that work to the big bad could use it to piss off the player to the point that the player's like, going to go kill this guy now?
The big bad could lie and say that they have his parents.
See, that just, again, ties it into just story only. We need something that mechanically also brings the player into being attacked.
I don't know.
I don't either at this point, but that's just...
I've been thinking too much on Act 2 that I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm blanking out right now.
Well, that's okay. We're going to put the story slightly to rest for a while, since we have a big break coming up, and although we should still definitely work on our parts, there is a plan I have for getting our project further along, and I'll go over that in a second. One thing I wanted to go over is the heme.
Yes.
And one of Rose's missions, where it could be like filled in before Act 2, is she goes to a unknown heme sanctuary and like runs to a bunch of like sociable hemes, and they tell her some things like heme characteristics and such.
That could happen during Act 3 instead of Act 2.
And real inspiration for this kind of mission is, I don't know if you've ever played Arcanum of Steamworks of Magic Obscura.
Never played it.
Yeah, it's sadly it's a sleeper hit. Very good game, and they have a orc village, I believe, and the player can be any race but orcs. And or is it a prisoner camp? They have the strange island where you get to interact with the otherwise unavailable race, and it's got a lot of story and silliness and some good fluff into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm thinking with Rose mission, she goes to the heme and discusses or talks with these on a more personal level. They're not
Friendly
like
themes.
yes, they're trying to find a cure, like you originally said.
Yeah.
And they give her like a task that requires fighting enemies that aren't hemes. I was thinking that as like a new...
That can be easily done.
Yeah. I was thinking of that as a past the game events. Like there's this heme sanctuary and she goes cure it. But with how you have the side missions so far correlating with the entire story, so that each one's a part of the same story,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should stay away from adding it as like the end. So it should be...
It wouldn't be
Parts.
the end. It would be like the middle, or sooner than the middle. Like literally, I would probably say it would be the one of like the next mission for Rose,
Mm-hmm.
and then during whatever the fourth temple is, then she would do the exchange information for other information, betrayal, and then...
No, wouldn't that be the second one?
Huh?
Because that would be where the third boss is. Doesn't that how the third boss comes out? Is that she exchanged information for information?
That would be in the fourth temple. After the fourth temple, then. Now.
So she would exchange information for information on the fourth temple.
Yes.
It kind of works.
I think it would work better if we knew what was happening beforehand, but we just don't right now.
Yeah, with how it plays out on the big picture, just planning the fourth temple to be like somber and sort of um, a seething rage. I don't want to give a reason for the player to redirect that at
You could
Rose.
That could happen at the very end. It doesn't have to happen like during the temple. It could be other information.
Even that it comes up, like it shouldn't be at the end because then it sort of like cheapens the victory that you found out that Rose caused this problem for you. It redirects anger at Rose. So if it happens earlier and it's upfront about it, it's okay. She still has time to make up for it. But if it happens late, we get stuck in this position where Rose remains unlikable.
Well, then she rescues. She can help rescue Lex.
She will, but
Yeah,
we can't
but
let
then that makes
her
her
actions.
likable.
We can't have her actions cheapen that. If we give enough time for that
I don't
betrayal,
understand
even
why
if it's
she
good,
can't do that.
because it weakens the bond between Kevin and Rose. Because if Rose does it early, and she's upfront about it, say Act 2 or Act 3, then she has the chance to redeem herself. If it happens at the end, you just tack on this one thing to make up for her just happened mistake. Like, the player doesn't get any time to seethe on it, and they can just never get that closure that way.
But why does she need to be that close with everybody?
She needs to at least be likable because they're going to be a New Game Plus character. No one's going to play the New Game Plus character of a character they don't like. We have to also give reasons for the player to actually want to play New Game Plus.
Like something can happen during Act 3 and makes her really likable, which we just don't know yet.
And then you cheapen it by making her betray him.
But then she comes back and makes everything better. I just don't understand why that can't happen at all. Like,
It's
I just
too
really
much.
think we have to get through Act
You're just piling
3.
it on rather than giving it time to work itself out. It's like you fix something, or you break something, and you throw a fix at it, and it's okay now. It's like there's still, say, someone broke a water pipe, and they bought a new water pipe, and they're like, yay, it's fixed. But there's still the water damage. They gotta also address the water damage, let that seep out, and replace any damage it did for everything to be okay again.
But what if everything wasn't okay again?
That would be a problem.
Not everybody would like her.
They wouldn't like her as much, if at all, and then they wouldn't want to play the New Game Plus. And the big thing about the story is giving reasons that they want to continue playing the game.
What if she had some type of relationship with a heme?
Why though?
Hmm?
Why though? And when would this come up?
Maybe she like lost her sister when she was younger, and the reason that she became a detective was to find her.
So other than giving this sort of troubled past kind of thing, what's that to accomplish? That makes her more likable,
Yeah.
so that we can still do the betrayal in Act 4.
Yeah.
See, that's why I don't agree with. You still have that betrayal in Act 4 that you don't give the time for the player to see. If people want to be angry, they'll continue to be angry for as long as they want, no matter what you do.
There's going to be an Act 5 too, right?
There is, but it's so close to the end, and Act 4 is a somber moment because of what happens. And remember, we're targeting like a 2 to maybe 3 or 4 hour game. You're asking the player to go through mood swings every 10 minutes.
Then we'll just have it during Act 3.
It doesn't have to be Act 3, but do you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying? They just need a little bit of time to get over a betrayal. And that's just something you can't do at the end because you take away that time.
Alright. What next?
Next, you said you had 2 missions planned for Lexi. For her new game plus.
At 2? I don't remember 2.
You said that there was 2 missions for Lexi and too many for Rose.
You said one for Rose could be finding a heme village or something.
Yes, and before that we talked about this exchange of information for information that made the boss fight happen.
I don't think you should connect that with the heme area.
Yeah.
Those could be 2 separate things.
It could, though, if she did have that, like, her sister was turned into a heme, like you were saying, that gives her a reason to look for that information more than just stopping the bad guy. And then that can lead into meeting a heme, finding the heme sanctuary.
Yeah. That's fine. So those would be 2 separate things, I guess. So exchange information for other information to find the heme sanctuary, but then causes another fight in Act 3. Act 4, she finds the heme sanctuary and possibly, if we do this, her sister. Which then makes her likable again.
Well, actually, does she... I remember now. I suggest that Rose save Lexi rather than Lexi be held prisoner by...
I didn't hear that. It was really broken up.
What I just said?
Yeah.
Okay. Earlier I said that... or suggested that Rose would save Lexi instead of Lexi being held prisoner by Jacob. And we went into the whole thing of if that adds too much missions for Rose and how that plays out and what to do about Act 4. So,
we could have...
do we still have that? And if so...
we could have Kevin save Lexi.
We could. That could be...
Because right now we're just focusing on the...
So what happens to Lexi when she's kidnapped?
And not Kevin.
When Lexi confronts her brother and things go bad, what exactly happens?
Well, my idea got thrown out. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, you originally suggested that
she get turned into the big final boss.
Yeah. So, other than being corrupted like Rose, what do you think would strike a nerve with the player? I mean, if they have Lexi, what could we do prior to build up Lexi as this super supportive asset to the player.
She also finds information. Also, she could take care of other things while she's not doing missions. Like, she could be taking care of people in the jungle area, which is close to Kevin.
Let's see.
That wouldn't make
Here's
that
an
much
idea
sense.
I'm having is Lexi also takes part in the RTS battle. And she does her role as a tank and is really hard to take down, is very valuable. Then she helps the player defend the village in Act 1. That builds a sort of camaraderie. She helps the player get to the temple in Act 2. Act 3 would have to be the point where she confronts her brother and gets kidnapped and she's not available.
Yeah.
Then Act 4...
I have an idea for Act 4.
What's that?
She could go and find her brother's old, like, wherever he used to do his, like, side work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not work at MC, but work on his own. She finds that and finds weaknesses to the heme virus.
And then she gets kidnapped before she can...
No, that's in Act 4 after she gets kidnapped. Because then everybody knows that her brother's in charge and stuff.
So she got kidnapped, and then while kidnapped, she found out that she found the heme cure or
No.
something for it. No.
No. I was thinking after all of that happens, she finds, like, his lab.
Okay. As, like, a closing point.
Yeah.
So go over Act 3 and Act 4 for Lexi for me.
Act 3, she confronts her brother and gets kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
That was her thing. She just went off on her own.
Yep.
Then during Act 3, she would be rescued and I guess help with some type of RTS battle that could happen during Act 3.
Who would rescue her in Act 3?
Either Rose or Kevin, depending on how the missions work out.
Alright, go on to Act 4.
Act 4, since everybody knows that Jacob is her brother, she really wants to take him down. And they need to find a weakness to his... 1, to his exosuit, and 2, to the virus that he... Well, not virus. Whatever thing that he made to make him so that he can take over the world. She finds a lab that he was developing and or looking up stuff for both of those things. So there's a weakness to the exosuit and a weakness to the big bad potion.
And what does Lexi do for Act 5 when the player confronts the boss? What's her mission equivalent?
Do you know in Act 2, when you're fighting Rose, I have it so that Kevin signals Lexi to come down and give the cure to Rose. Can we have it so that, like, there's like some type of action button?
We can, but
says like
what's
that yeah, that didn't actually help with that solution. Oh, they would be attacking Jacob, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Rose would... Here's what I think all three of them should do. Rose should be undercover and, like, take out some defenses inside because she could just sneak in.
Yeah.
Lexi would be taking the militia in head first and distracting them.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin would be
Okay.
trying to get to Jacob.
That works great. I like that, and I like that Lexi finds a weakness for the exosuit. The one thing I'm hung up on is she's rescued before Temple 4, so we return to the problem of what angers the player enough that they skip Temple 4.
But they skipped Temple 4.
Yes. Remember last week, or the week before, I suggest that for Act 4, or Temple 4, Act 4, there would be something that happens, either, well, towards the end of Act 3, that really pisses off the player, to the point that they are given the option to attack the big bad now, or continue and do Act 4, and do the temple. If they don't do Act 4, we could have them not have the exosuit weakness discovered, which would make the boss fight harder. If they do attack Act 4, why are they, or if they do attack the big bad instead of doing Act 4, why are they attacking the big bad instead of Act 4? If it's not that Rose is kidnapped. Because with what we went over, Rose being kidnapped is not the absolute ideal. It's not what we originally went for, but it works because we started establishing Rose as a very important piece.
Does it have to be anger?
It doesn't. What are you thinking?
Maybe Jacob has information. I already said this before. Has information about Kevin's parents, and Kevin really, really, really wants to know about that.
And again, my problem is that Kevin, yes, he really cares. But why would the player care?
So Kevin could be happy and figure out.
Do you think the player really cares about Kevin's life other than what they do with their commands and what they gameplay?
Some will.
Some will, yes. But how can we hit a larger audience? We do that by doing something mechanically. It hits a bigger nerve and it affects more people.
The only other thing I can think of is taking away Zyla, but then that...
Yeah, we don't want to take away Zyla.
Then I don't know.
But we can have Lexi be kidnapped because she got all this developed use. But then we have a sort of problem with, if she's not in Act 4, how does she find the exosuit weakness? How does she get that to Kevin before the boss battle if he does Act 4? Ooh, if the player does Act 4 instead of Act 5, they find maybe a note or a journal, or they find whatever Lexi was going through that had the exosuit weakness in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like a message in a bottle sort of thing. She's there, but she's not there because she's kidnapped.
Yeah.
And then when they do the boss fight, they'll have that weakness known, and the boss fight will be a bit easier. And if they skip it, then it's harder. But they have that goal of saving Lexi now rather than later.
Alright.
Does that sound good to you?
Yeah. Can you write that down? Or type that down? So I won't remember that in my head.
Alright. That gives us a good point for the story to leave off. Now, there's one thing I wanted to address, which is getting towards our game done, our first level. And that is, I want to have each of us make 3 levels that are 2 minutes in length with the editor that we currently have. So 2 minutes end to end with any form of platforming or pitfalls or anything you want. Make 3 different levels, and we'll all exchange our levels, play around, get a feeling for what feels right, and then we'll have the basis to build the rest of our game. And those levels could be mixed and matched to build the first level.
That's fine.
Sounds doable to you?
Well, the thing is, there's just that 1 week I literally just can't do anything because I'm going to be at camp and at that wedding. But
we have
after
about
that week,
3 weeks.
I can do it. Yeah, I can do it in 3 weeks.
All right, 3 weeks. And if you, that will be our main priority, getting those 3 levels done.
Yeah.
And if you have the time, work on the story a bit more. And we'll, Phil and I will do something once we do the 3 levels if we have time as well.
Gotcha.
All right. Very informative. We got a nice long talk arguing about the story instead of the battle system.
Didn't last 3 hours though.
It didn't. If only Phil was here, he would have helped it last.
No, I don't want it to last 3 hours anymore. I literally almost fell asleep last time. That was bad.
It was, but it was fun. All in all, I enjoyed it. Oh, you didn't argue very much.
I didn't talk for an
Yes.
hour and a half.
All right.
Wait, wasn't there like some other thing that you're gonna say? Or was that just like the levels?
That was just the levels.
Alright.
Because we covered the New Game Plus and the Rose mission with the Heme Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Temple 4, the story, the Heme characteristics is kind of the Sanctuary, and then the level plans. So that's everything I have written down for the meeting notes and goals for today.
Alright.
Alright, sounds like a good place to stop.
Alright.
This is Project KZAV, signing off.